Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a coffee, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and X. Now, we are joined by Click OK, Neil, and a whole bunch of people in the Flat Earth Debate Discord server. So, welcome one and all.
How are you?
Hello, Nathan.
Lacking coffee, I've said let's go live early so I can go and get some snoozes before going out this evening for a curry with Craig. And as soon as I've done it, I've got no drinks. I'm not really ready. That's just probably a bad decision. So, I don't know. Do you think you can keep a conversation going for the first 5 minutes of the show while I do get a coffee? Because it's something I need for a full hour's show, especially if I'm yawning.
I'll help.
Can you answer housekeeping questions if Neil asks them, and I'll go get myself a coffee? It'll take me 2 minutes. The machine's on.
Go for it, Nathan. I have a question, if someone can help. You know, when you measure elevation angles to stars, and then the globs say, oh, you should be able to get the height of the star. Well, we know we can't get the height of the star. My question is, what about the sun? Can we triangulate the height of the sun, or is it the same thing, or do you know?
Negative.
Yeah, none of the heights are obtainable. The sun, whether it's the sun or any star, they're all treated as infinite.
The geometry
Well, the sun is moving,
different.
though, right?
No, it's not like a street light, buddy.
Yeah, the sun moves at 15 degrees per hour, but all stars move at 15 degrees per hour except for one.
So let me ask you this. When you raise an elevation and you measure the angle to the sun, like you're on the ground first, then you measure the angle to the sun, and you go up 100 feet, is it still the same angle or is it different?
Yep.
So your angle never changes. Like if you're standing on the beach with your toes in the water and you take an angle to a star or the sun, then you get up and get on top of a cell phone tower, 500 feet in the air, the angle won't change. Then you get in a helicopter 1,000 feet above that, the angle won't change. Then you get in an SR-71 Blackbird, 100,000 feet above that, the angle never changes to any of those objects. Oh, objects.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know if I call them. I'm not talking at you. I'm sorry. I don't mean to have a tone or anything.
No, I'm asking because I wasn't sure about the sun. I was, I knew about like stars, but the sun was a little different. I wasn't sure if the angle changes when you go in elevation or not. So if it doesn't, then yeah, I mean, you can't get the height of the sun.
It's a celestial body.
Well, it depends. No, there's an exception to that rule. So if your sun is on the horizon, it can reach and breach the diffraction limit. That is to say, through a limitation in angular resolution. Yeah, by coincidence, Neil brought this up the other day. So we'll make the comparison to the sun at the end. But if you take a brick and put it at a couple of yards, you can see the brick, right? Your angle to the brick is wide enough to resolve the brick. If you put the brick at a mile, then the narrow angle precludes your view from being resolved. That's the angular resolution limit, the diffraction limit. So you can't resolve the brick at a mile. It is too small to see. You with me so far? Now, if you raise in altitude, you widen the angle. increasing your resolution to the brick. So there's a fair chance you'll bring the brick back. Now, if you then put that brick at 2 miles, it doesn't matter how high you go. You can never increase the angle wide enough to increase the resolution enough to bring the brick back. But if you build on top of the brick, another 150-story building, the bottom brick's still gone. You can't resolve the angle to that bottom brick, but you can see the rest of the building. Ergo, the bottom of the building is missing 1 brick through angular resolution limits. Now, if you then convert that same exact example to the sun, there is a point when the sun's moving away from you. It's over the land over there, where it can be on the horizon and you can go up the Burj Khalifa, as they used to use as an example, and bring it back. But all you're doing is increasing the angular resolution. But there is a point where it'll go beyond, where you can go as high as you like and you'll never bring it. It's still dark, right? So you can't bring it back when it goes too far away. In other words, it's over the land far, far away rather than in the near distance on the horizon. So from that perspective, yes, you can affect the sun with an altitude increase. But beyond that exception to the rule, it just behaves like everything else. You can still get the same angle at a given point in time in the day at all altitudes and use the sun for navigation like you would the stars. That's the point that you're asking about, right, Duncan?
No, that wasn't a question.
Oh, well, I missed the question.
Not exactly.
The question was the distance. Can he get a distance?
A distance to the GP you can get, yeah.
But not to the
like
sun or
height
not
of the
to any
sun.
celestial
Oh,
body.
No. So I've been taking the piss out of Rhetoric in the pre-show. What he's suggesting is that the distance to a celestial body, I can't remember if he's using the sun or the moon, it's one or the other, and he's addressing Jeranism back in the day. And he's suggesting that with trig, you can calculate the distance in height terms to these objects. You can't. When you raise an altitude, the angle doesn't change. Can't get the distance to the sun. Same goes for the stars. If you're going to use them in navigation terms, ball or flat, if you're going to put yourself inside the ball on the equatorial plane, measure through the ball with latitude lines that are a glorified protractor, then you have to suggest that they're at an infinite distance. Now, you can take heliocentric derivations through Kepler and Huygens and scale that system to give you distance. But you're going to need a flat Earth to measure the radial value, and you're going to need to transfer that flat radial value onto a light in the sky, but it won't function when you've got the world as a glorified protractor for actual navigation terms. That's why they say, well, we will consider them to be an infinite distance. Why? You've just described a value to them through Kepler and Huygens. You can't have it both ways. Both ways being from a flat plane inside hell.
Right. Cool. Thank you. I wasn't sure. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I didn't even that didn't cross my mind. I just had a picture like you see the sun at 70 degrees and then you just go to various different heights while the sun's still at 70. But yeah, when it's on the equator, when it's on the horizon and then you go on top of the building, like if you're on the ground, you can't see it, but if you go to the top, you can. So yeah, other than that,
Well, when you understand that,
but it's still treated.
It's one following off the other. If you understand how they've hijacked perspective in the begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator, you understand that it's directly connected to the angular resolution limit. Well, when you know that and you know that they're asserting that the sun comes back if you raise an altitude, you're like, this is the exact same thing. They're saying it's coming back from behind the Earth curve because you're raising above the obstruction. But what is the Earth curve when you've taken perspective, hijacked it and called it Earth curve? Well, it's perspective. Well, what's perspective? Angular resolution limits. Okay, and how does that work? Well, you increase your angle, you increase your resolution. It is that simple. So when they say you're bringing the sun back, no, you're raising above the limitation that the angle formed with the deck would create at the horizon if the sun's in the distance. Go up higher, wider angle. Very simple.
So they took perspective and they made it Earth curve. Great.
Yes.
Maybe that's what we should be dealing with people.
Well, when they do, they need to measure things, don't they, Neil? What do they measure for Earth curve mathematics? surface level, eye level.
My hands are wet.
Yes, surface level and eye level, parallel with one another. That's how Earth curve gets measured. And it is not measuring Earth curve. You're measuring your height above surface level for a parallel eye level and a horizontal distance measurement. Those are the inputted numbers into those maths. If the distance isn't horizontal, the maths doesn't work. If the height isn't off surface level, the maths doesn't work. If you haven't got a parallel eye level, the maths doesn't work. It's all reliant on three flat Earth prerequisites. Surface level, eye level, horizontal distance. It's like Rhetoric's used. So for whatever reason, I woke up this morning to Rhetoric directing his audience to an old video of mine that demonstrates I've got a sex life. I don't really understand why you'd do that, Red, so I've got to go on camera just to show my delight. Maybe it's because Rhetoric's never actually kissed a girl and thinks he can shame me by pointing out I've got a very fruitful sex life. Yeah, that's a 10-year-old video. I've now got 2 kids. Yeah? That's the result of having a sex life, Rhetoric. But that's not really a rebuttal to what I do on YouTube, pointing out that I've got a sex life. I have. It's very good. From a man who's never kissed a girl, you're never going to shame me for having a sex life. Somebody did it recently when they'd gone through my history and pointed out that I was engaged when I was about 19 to a girl called Gemma. And they started holding it over me. I'm like, go and have a look at some pictures of her. She was tall, blonde and buxom with giant breasts. Very beautiful girl at the time. And you're going to try and shame me? What are you doing, you bunch of idiots? Is it just that the bull believers are all a bit like Dave McKeegan and all fugly and think that they're going to shame me for having girlfriends and a sex life? We talk about Earth being measured flat. So before I'd even really got my head out of the haze of not having much sleep for the last 3 weeks, I'd managed to find an example of Rhetoric measuring Earth flat for a horizontal distance measurement to apply trig calculations to. So, Rhetoric, you measure Earth flat, son. Now, the fact that you've never kissed a girl and that I have is not really a rebuttal to these facts of the matter when you require Earth to be measured flat for a horizontal linear distance application to use trig. Now, you, Reds, now get to hear the Rhetoric version of Rock and Hard Place. You either sink to your knees in acknowledgement of how flat Earth must be for your little D on your triangle that's flat. It's a right-angled triangle, right, to do your trig. So you either accept on your knees how flat Earth must be for your trig to work, or you accept that you're a Dumbo and that you're using a curved line in a right-angled triangle. So you relinquish your measurements. That's to say, you find your way to the hard place where you're a dumbass that doesn't know what trig is. So they weren't straight, linear miles you were talking about when you said over 2,500 of them could apply to your baseline of your flat triangle. They wouldn't apply that because it's curved. Well, then your trig fails. You haven't got any measurements, you dumbass. And what you do accept that it's straight, linear and horizontal to apply to a right angle triangle. On your knees, Red's Rhetoric. Let me know how salty they are. What a clown. Try and shame me for having a sex life. It took me 25 seconds to find that example of Rhetoric measuring Earth flat. How long did you have to scrape through my videos to find something you thought you'd embarrass me with, Reds? You complete idiot. There, that was my
I like
morning.
how it just takes just a few seconds to debunk Earth curve now.
Yeah, Neil sent a video that Craig had replied to and was talking about in the pre-show. I'm like, I don't want to cover this if it's not good. And I trust Craig's judgment and Neil's, who said he hadn't watched it. But just so you know, Neil, I do trust what you say. If you had to watch that video, I'd have probably gone through it. But the fact that Craig had gone through it, and he's like, no, it's not a very interesting video. It's very dull. I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to cover it on the live show, but I will just put it on in the background whilst having a chit-chat with you guys. And what do you know? Within 60 seconds of the video, he's showing a flat Earth elevation angle that Aristophanes used. Okay, so again, we're back to the rock and a hard place example. You either accept that you're measuring flat. Oh, it's only a very small local area that's flat. Okay, so you are measuring Earth flat then. End of this discussion. You either accept that you're measuring Earth flat, because you must, or you don't. I don't care if you don't. Then your measurements fail. Well, I don't care. It's not me appealing to these measurements, is it? You're appealing to flat Earth prerequisite elevation angles to suggest you're on a ball. Now, when you accept that they're flat measurements, then you've got a flat Earth measurement. Earth's measured flat, and that's the end of the discussion. You've measured Earth flat. What's that? You just want to accept that it's flat, but only locally? Okay. Again, the same thing. You're just measuring Earth flat locally. Yeah, we measure Earth flat, don't we? What's that? It isn't flat, actually curved. Well, then you haven't got a measurement. Again, rock and a hard place. Either accept that you're measuring Earth flat, because you are, or don't. Where do we get up to in housekeeping?
I thought we had a new rule that whatever video comes our way, once they use a flat Earth, we don't even go any further.
That's what I was talking about all week with my comments. It's like, I just wait for somebody who's coming to either ad hom me. I mean, an ad hom would be like an insult in lieu of an argument. Like, you are stupid, instead of, no, my 2,500 miles that I'm applying to a flat triangle base at 90 degrees to a vertical when measuring the moon for its distance. Reds. Dum-dum. Or you relinquish your measurement. I mean, we can just find our way to the flat Earth measurement. But when we get an ad hom about me having a sex life, that's not even an insult. It's not an ad hom, it's not an insult, but it's not, I mean, I suppose you could call it an ad hom. It's at the man as opposed to having to be insulting. So at the man, you've got a sex life. Yeah, I have. Earth's still measured flat by Rhetoric, though, isn't it? So who cares how good my sex life is? Very, by the way, Reds. Have you ever kissed a girl? I don't really care. You measure Earth flat. Ain't that sad? They try and trawl through my videos to find something that he thinks he's going to have a pop at. And the thing he has a pop at is that. I mean, you just couldn't make it up. Nobody's responding. I'll take it that you're all utterly shocked at this notion.
I didn't hear it. What was that again?
Why pick that thing to have a pop at? If you're going to ad hom somebody, at least pick something insulting. I mean, I'll give you I'll do it for you. I am so freaking poor, right? My bathroom is held together with sellotape. That's how poor I am. I've got 2 mortgages. Yeah? So if you want to ad hom me for being poor, because I am. That's legitimately true. So if you're trying to cut there, because it cuts deep. Now, riches, who cares? When we're dead, you don't take any of it with you, so who cares? But it would be nice to be able to tile my bathroom and buy a new car and not live in an apartment. I'm in the same place. That apartment video where you're showing off my sex toys. I'm in the same exact place with 2 kids here. So it's really cramped. There's no space. I trip over things all day long, to the detriment of my health in one instance about 3 or 4 years ago. You know, broke a load of ribs because I'm getting up in the night, falling over a load of stuff and breaking bones. So if you want to have a pop at me, have a pop at how poor I am, because it's true.
No, that's not going to work, Nick. See, if they pop at that, there's a chance that people see that and be like, you know what? They're sending this guy some money. So they can't do that because you may benefit from that. You know what I'm trying to say?
No.
What if they could show something where, look, this guy, he's trying to make it like you're out of character, like you're not human or something. Look at him.
We're not
Look
human for having a sex life. Are you joking? I mean, I couldn't think of anything more. He wouldn't exist if his parents didn't have that going on that I've got going on that he's having a pop at. He wouldn't exist, Reds. Do you understand that? If your parents didn't have a sex life, you wouldn't be here. But you think you can insult me for that? Are you kidding? Are you delusional? I mean, are you nuts? Really? I just can't. You couldn't make it up. Now I'm using my lights. I'm too hot. I'm going to have to take this jumper off.
It's all about perception. What he's trying to make people perceive. You'll have some people that are square, Nathan, straight and narrow, and they'll look down at you for even having those items and using them for your pleasure. It's just the way it is.
I don't really understand. You're going to have to break that down to me. What? People look down their nose.
Okay, you have straight and
the only
narrow
people who ever...
that are squares.
Go on, explain it to me. Explain it to me like I'm really dumb, because I genuinely don't get this.
You have people that walk the straight and narrow line. They're squares. You understand? They call them squares here. And
boring people.
They see basically. So they may have a different opinion on that. I know some people that, and they think that's of the devil if you use those things. You know? Yeah.
I mean, okay. I mean, none of this makes any sense to me.
There's a total different, from England to America, it's like so different at how you view things and how the people in the States view things. Like, you go over here with the Bible Belt, oh, forget it. They would have a party with that and burn them.
What? I still don't understand. Even if you're Amish, the way people exist doesn't change. But for the fact that people are having sex, they wouldn't exist. That's never going to be anything to shame somebody with. I don't get it.
Yeah, but Nathan, you can have children and sex without toys and have, procreate. That's what they're trying to put it at. I'm telling you what he's trying to do with it. Trying to label you as some sort of freak.
I am a total freak. I mean, I am utterly perverted when it comes to that stuff. I mean, I'm so filthy. You have no idea. That's just the tip of the iceberg. Believe me, I'm more dirty than you could ever imagine. This is not something you're ever going to shame me with. You're going to be kidding.
He's not trying to shame you. He's trying to put it in other people's minds of how they view you.
But what difference does it make? So some Bible Belt Christian sees me as a bit of a perv. I am, yeah? Does that change how flat Earth is measured? See this surface level with a parallel eye level on screen for your Earth curve maths that we were talking about in the pre-show? You know, you go to the horizon. No, it wasn't in the pre-show. It was the beginning of the live show. Right, you go to the horizon and what are you looking at? What are you measuring? Surface level? What about when you go up in height? What, your altitude off surface level? What about when you calculate the angle? What, with a dip angle from the parallel eye level? Yeah, these are flat Earth prerequisites that you're going to absolutely unequivocally require to suggest with flat Earth measurements that you're on a ball. But what's that? I've got a sex life? Yeah, I have. Yeah, I'm a right pervert. Is that what you wanted me to be? A pervert? Okay, I am. I admit it.
That 19-year-old blonde was too hot for you, Nathan.
She was just too hot. Do you remember Gemma? The guy in the comments was hilarious. Oh, do you remember Gemma? Oh, you've been through my Facebook, have you? And seen that I've had a long and fruitful love life with many different women over the years? Yeah, I have, yeah. I mean, maybe you can shame me for that too. I mean, does that alter that I stood before God and gave my, whatever you call it, heart to my current wife? Not that I'm suggesting there won't be another one by saying current. I mean, my wife. Yeah, I did. And I'll honour that till I'm dead. But shaming me for having previous girlfriends. I mean, it never makes any sense. On the one hand, I remember casually discussing with you guys that over the years, I think it was with Brian, because he's very similar, he's a handsome guy, and he gets loads of women, right? Me too, I was fighting him off, literally. I mean, I could tell you some stories that probably would get me shamed, but I've literally had to fight him off at periods of my life where I had to kick one of them out of the bed because the one I was with was like, who's this girl? Tell her to go away. I'm like, I'm actually with this girl. You're going to have to leave my bedroom. This was at a party when I was living in Stratford. You know, I mean, but you say that and they're like, he's lying. No, you ugly old baldy. And you're like, no, I'm not. But they wanted to shame me for that. And then they shame you for having a former fiance. Like, are you guys insane? Is it just because you're so fugly and lonely that you think I'm going to be shamed? No. What, are you a bit pervy? Yeah, I am. Yeah, I'm really dirty. Earth's still measured flat. Who cares?
Yeah, but they're going to use anything. But listen, anything to deflect away from what and how Earth is measured. So, of course, they're going to pick anything, Nathan. So they found that they're going to use that and try and use that to your advantage. They may make you out to be a legend.
A legend?
Yeah, like you'll see guys see that and be like, all right, Nathan Oakley, he's the man.
I am. Make no mistake. But that's the thing, isn't it? And life is what you take out of it. And in this same seat, not in the same position, there's been many different seats in this particular position, but from this little corner of this little lounge, it's actually not that little, it's quite big. But from this position, over the years, I've been rags and riches. That is to say, when we were the other day talking about me suggesting to my former boss that I get a Ferrari as a company car, well, that would have meant what? That there was a Ferrari parked where the crap 25-year-old TT is currently parked. Now, when that TT was new, my wife owned it. It was nice, shiny, and everyone desired it. Now, not so much. But what's really changed? Nothing. It's just perception from other people. I would be perceived as rich walking around with the Rolex I've still got that I inherited after somebody died. But when I was a rep, people didn't know that. You know, because it was one of those things that was still really expensive back in the day. But I was driving around in really top-end, high-quality Audis and arriving on people's doorsteps, distributors and dealers, and they'd be like, this guy's doing really well because I had a nicer car than all the other reps because I was selling the most expensive gear there was. So getting a good wage, having a good car, having a really good expense account, flying all over the world. I still came home to this apartment, though, didn't I? I still parked my car in the same spot. And after that employment was ended, I ended up suing that employer and winning. Now, I was poor as all frick, having to go around gathering up stuff off Freegal, which is a free website where people give away their crap that isn't worthy of going on eBay. And I'd have to try and gather up enough stuff to repair, polish up, polish turds, we used to call them. I'm sure that saying's still very much prevalent. But I went from utterly minted, looking stinking rich in my Yves Saint Laurent suits that I'd get laundered at the really expensive laundrette. And now I'm in between the two. I mean, I'm on a knife edge constantly trying to pay my 2 mortgages e-begging, but I'm not destitute. I'm not about to get turfed out of my ear. Hopefully not. So, you know, whether or not I'm up, down, in between, life doesn't actually change that much. And when I was dealing with, very rarely, but I used to when I was a rep, deal with end users, right? That's the customer, the guy that actually spends the money that keeps the whole process going, right? The great unwashed. Craig will know exactly what I'm talking about. The guy who walks through your door in a retail outlet and actually hands over money, right? He's the guy that's actually keeping everything ticking over. Forget the reps, forget the distributors, forget the manufacturers. If it isn't for that guy, everything grinds to a halt. So he's, strictly speaking, the most important person. And on a rare occasion, I'd get to deal with that guy. And I'd go to people, and you'd go to their house, and sometimes it was celebrities. Do you know who Elle Macpherson is? I remember dealing with Elle Macpherson and her husband, Archie, his name was, and they'd be fighting like cat and dog, right, with their kids at the top of the stairs listening to them fighting, while I'd be fixing their hi-fi. As a distributor, right, as a favour to my dealer, who didn't want to go round there. Anyway, they lived in London, and they had a relatively nice house. Now, don't get me wrong, there are houses around me that are very similar to those houses. But in London, the houses aren't actually that big. You might think they are, but once you're actually inside them, they're not as big as you might think. That is to say, you haven't got that much more square footage than next man, right? And you'd look around and go, okay, so what's different in this place, in this lounge? And you go, well, my lounge is probably only 17 by 15. This one's probably 25 by 20. So he's got a few more square foot. Well, it's not that different. My hi-fi's better than his, was what I would be thinking. I've got a Cord hi-fi too, and mine's better. I've got better speakers and a better rig, and mine's surround sound, and yours isn't. That would be the kind of thoughts that was going through my head, because I was very materialistic back then. But then you'd look on the wall and go, that's an interesting picture. I'll take a picture of that and ask my girlfriend at the time, of course, who was an artist, Chantel her name was, who the artist was. And I showed her this picture, and she went, that's a Damien Hirst. She knew exactly what it was instantly. I'm like, what's that worth? She's like, probably 40 grand. It was just a circle with splatter on it. It looked crap. It was garbage. I wouldn't hang it up in my wall. I wouldn't give it the time of day. But it was interesting enough for me to take a picture of and figure out who it was. And it was a Damien Hirst original that probably cost this guy 50 grand. That was it. That was the difference. His pictures were worth 10x, 50x, whatever you want to put the number on, than the ones on my wall. I don't even have pictures anymore. I've got acoustic treatment. But the point is, that's where things differ. So your toys cost more. Where average guy in a different part of the world, in Scotland, has got a house that's 10 times bigger. You could buy a freaking castle in Scotland. But who wants to live in Scotland, in the middle of nowhere, in a castle that's dusty and dark and there's no amenities and no shops near you? You know, it's very different to be in London in a relatively big house versus in a massive castle in some remote part of Scotland where it's cost you peanuts. The point is, it's all subjective, isn't it? How well you are doing in life. So then you sit back when you're a bit older, like I am now, and go, what is it you actually want out of life? What is it that you want? Well, you want as little stress as possible. Now, over the last 3 weeks, don't get me wrong, I've been subject to a massive amount of stress, but it's diminishing quickly, as you can probably hear in my tone, right? I'm less phased now than I was last week and the week before. Well, that stress should be, in this argument, the stress of the religious belief that I hold. Because people want to paint us, me, a flat earther, as holding a belief in a flat earth where they know for sure and without a doubt that the earth is a sphere. Therefore, I'm the one worthy of ridicule. But in reality, it's the complete antithesis of the perception that your average Joe Normie has. And when I point that out to Joe Normie, let's say Rhetoric, although he's not Joe Normie, it's stressful. You want to attack the person. Now, you can't attack the argument, because, like I say, before I'd even finished brushing my teeth, I could find Rhetoric measuring Earth flat for 2,500 miles of it for his trig to work. So is that stressful for me? No, it's hilarious, because I can laugh at Rhetoric within the subject context of how he proves my point. So there's no stress. It's actually quite an easy topic to be in when you reach the level of zen that me and everyone around me has reached in regards to how Earth is, was, and always will be measured flat by everyone in all circumstances, including but not limited to Al-Biruni, Aristophanes, and in more recent times, Simon Dan, Fugly Dave McKeegan, Fugly Rhetoric. They're all measuring Earth flat in all circumstances. Even when they're suggesting that we're wrong as flat earthers, they still measure Earth flat. So Physics Explained, as we covered in the pre-show, is going straight to flat Earth prerequisite elevation angle measurements to suggest we're on a ball and flat earthers are stupid. It's like I didn't even have to listen to the video. I just need to scroll through the scroll bar until I see a flat Earth prerequisite elevation angle measurement and go, don't use our stuff, you complete bonehead. Now that's going to cause stress for you. Now, I might be sitting here poor as all frick, but I've sat in the same position with a really nice car on the driveway that's brand new, that could do 170 miles an hour, more. Does it make any difference to my life? No, back then I was a lot more stressed having to run around all over Europe and all over the world and fly there and everywhere and lose sleep. Now, occasionally your friends will betray you and you lose sleep for 2 or 3 weeks, but it's not a non-stop affair, flying here, there and everywhere losing sleep like it was when I was a rep. So comparatively speaking, although I'm a lot poorer, life's a lot less stressful. Still in the same position, still in the same seat. That kind of adds to my stress. I'd rather be in a house. My point is, our opponents have to endure the stress and suffering of being wrong about their religion. Their religion they were given by the Roman Catholic Church of heliocentrism. Who feels the pinch here? Who feels the stress? Say again, sorry, Duncan.
Sorry. No, that's okay. I was going to say, actually, since you bang a bunch of hot girls, Nathan, that proves Earth is a globe. So you're wrong.
They weren't all hot. Mostly. But
See,
yeah,
Sicilians don't need any toys. We only have one toy.
you only have one toy?
Yeah, Sicilians don't need toys. You kidding me? If I needed a toy, I'd feel like I'm not a man. But that's just my thinking.
What was that sound for?
Talking of toys.
Okay. I mean, I don't want to make it too... I don't want to take it down that peg. I mean, Rhetoric's brought it onto that road, not me. and I'll explain myself with my head held high when it comes to people going through my videos and having a quick glimpse in my bedroom. Like, okay, fair enough. You know, you can have a pop of that, and I'll bring it up temporarily, hopefully without being too disgusting or too filthy. You know, it's just, yeah, I've got a sex life if I just bring it down a notch. But doesn't change how Earth is measured. Why pick that thing? Why not direct your audience to me to tell me how Earth isn't measured flat? Well, that's because you can't.
Where's Rhetoric from? He's American, right?
I think he's in Los Angeles.
Yeah, there you go. He's an American. A person from the UK would not even use that. He's an idiot. He's trying to shame you with the square American people. That's all he's trying to do. When all you're saying is, look, I have a healthy, intimate life with my wife. What do you expect? I have 2 children.
Say again, Craig? Or was that accidental?
Well, no, I was going to say something about Neil being racist about Americans. You got to be careful, you might get banned.
Yeah, you can't tell me that they're all frigid or square. I'm sure there's plenty of perverts. I mean, you know, people with a healthy sex life.
It's not perverted. What you choose to do. Let me take it to you.
Let me just correct you, Neil. No. I absolutely, without question, am perverted. There's no 2 ways about it. I am utterly filthy.
Let me finish, though, because according to Scripture, the Bible clearly states that the marriage bed is pure and undefiled. The marriage bed. That's you and your wife.
What about the marriage kitchen or the marriage lounge or the marriage garage or the marriage by the river?
That just means that, you know, whatever, it's between you and your wife as long as she concedes.
So it's okay if it's the marriage changing rooms and look, no one will hear, I promise. That's all okay, right?
Yeah, as long as there's consent, I mean, it's between you and your wife.
Oh, well, that's good then. Happy days. I just can't believe someone's tried to shame me for this. I just can't quite believe it.
Listen, if you want to put on a Tarzan outfit and swing from the chandelier,
I do.
And you're married, that's pure and undefiled in the eyes of God, because that's you and your wife. And it's your marriage bed. Rhetoric should not be poking in there.
My Spider-Man outfit, you mean?
Well, the thing is, Nathan, he's poking in there because he doesn't have any sex life.
Yeah, that's the real reason, isn't it, Reds? Yeah? You never kissed a girl. Bless. Aw, you jealous? You should be. Meanwhile, Earth's measured flat. It doesn't matter. None of this is relevant as much as it is fun to laugh at Rhetoric's attempted shaming of me. Yeah, just try and stick to the argument, mate. You know, you've measured Earth flat with elevation angles. Speaking of which, I should really put that on screen, shouldn't I, so the audience knows what we're talking about. Where is it? Is this it?
Well, you might have people saying, "What the?" If they just tuned in, you never know. There's always new listeners. They'll be like, "What the heck is an elevation angle, Nathan?"
I'll define it in a second. Let's just play this video out.
She will do this edge on with my location in Florida.
She'll do what? She'll edge what?
And I will do the same while being edge on with her location.
Edge what? Sorry, I couldn't help it.
In California. However, the first thing we need to do is
sink to your knees and acknowledge how flat D is going to be when you measure Earth flat with a horizontal, linear distance measurement for your trig here. Rhetoric. I'm sorry about all the echo, Reds. I was literally having a dump while I was debunking you. Yeah, it was the first thing I did. Yeah, it was like before I'd even really fully woken up, I was debunking you. It was really easy. It took 25 seconds. Yeah, did it whilst I was on the toilet. That's why it's all echoey. And that's about how much respect I have for you as well. That's why it's all echoey in my little bathroom that's held together with sellotape. You'd have been better off poking at me being poor, mate.
find the distance between us. Lucky for us, the distance between us is known by
this D, right? We're going to use the distance as this straight line here, right, Reds? Okay, got that.
You guessed it, using the fucking ruler tool on Google Earth.
Why is it that you're using the F word? Does that not mean having sex, Rhetoric? Why would you use that word? The fucking Earth ruler. I mean, go and have a look at elevation profile. This is a flat, linear, horizontal distance, and you can show how non-curving it is in the elevation profile. I mean, obviously, I don't need to prove that. Reds is unequivocally going to be using it as a horizontal distance measurement. He's just shown us the trig that he's going to be applying it to.
With that, we now have the value of D, which is 2,351.81 miles.
2,351 flat Earth linear miles. Rhetoric measures Earth flat. It's the only way Earth can be measured. Well done, Reds. Earth's flat. We checked. At this point, Reds, you've got a couple of choices. Sink to your knees in acknowledgement of how flat you require Earth to be to do this trig, or accept that you're a dumbass and you've applied trig to a curve. That's not trig. So you're going to kick your measurements to the curb as a stupid idiot that doesn't understand how to do maths. I thought that was your whole shtick, Reds, that you knew how to do maths. So given that we'll accept without question that Reds is oh so superior when it comes to mathematics and wouldn't have made a mistake, then he measured Earth flat for his trig, didn't he? Yes, because the only way Earth ever gets measured is flat, with linear distance in miles, 2,500 of them in this instance, right, Reds? Unless you want to go to that hard place where you're a dumbass and don't know how to do trig. What's that you do, and you do use flat Earth measurements? On your knees. Let me know how salty they are. Okay, Reds? That's it. Very short video.
Can I give a little advice to those people that are going to be sending videos? If you're a baller, or you're one of these people that are against what we say about it being measured flat.
She will do this edge on with my location in Florida.
I couldn't resist.
So before you send the video, make sure that it's not automatically in the first 30 seconds proven a flat Earth, please.
Shout out to Chow Yun Cat. It says, if you declare with your mouth Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. Praise be to Jesus. Thank you for the super chat.
Actually, Neil, I'd like to say something to the contrary to that. I'm happy they show you the flat Earth prerequisite in the first 30 seconds. So that means I don't have to sit through 20 minutes of nonsense before we finally get there.
Say that again.
If we get to the flat Earth in the first 30 seconds, then we don't have to listen to 20 minutes of nonsense before we inevitably get to the flat Earth prerequisite.
You're saying if in the video they talk about how Earth is measured flat immediately, then we don't have to deal with the rest of the stupid nonsense video where they're applying, I don't know, bendy lines to straight flat triangles or whatever it is they're doing.
That's it.
Yeah, that was
that's
Neil's
the
sentiment.
whole point.
Yeah, that's what Neil's... Yeah, go ahead, Neil.
No, that's the point. We're going to stop it right there and not waste anybody's time.
Yeah, my favourite's the back and forths. No offence to you if you're one of my commenters, right? And you're in there, you're fighting the good fight. You're in the wrangle dangle with one of my anti-flat Earth commenters, and you're going back and forth. And then I just come along and look down the list. It takes me 10 seconds to find where one of them's used a flat Earth measurement or said north. I'm like, north's flat. What are you doing? Don't use our stuff. So we started the show early today, in case anybody's joined late in the show. I'm utterly exhausted, so I'm going to see if I can get a snooze. I'm going to be going out for a curry with Craig later, and I haven't slept in about 3 weeks. I just can't. I've had a lot of stress. So that's starting to dissolve, thank God. In light with the suture. Thank you very much again, Charlie and Kat. But yeah, so we will end up being a little bit earlier ending today than we are typically, as far as the clock is concerned, not as far as the duration is concerned. So we did start about a quarter of an hour early.
So can I ask a question? How are things going? Are you making progress?
We haven't done anything other than what I took stock of when I was telling you what I'd got the other day. I haven't had a chance. I mean, yesterday my wife was out at a gymnastics class, so no, not really, not in the day. But that might change, as we find, my wife and I, time to do these things. But that is a limitation. I've got to be honest. I didn't expect more to be piled onto my desk. I was hoping that the book would be taken off my desk, and therefore, in turn, so would the microphones. Instead, there's more on my desk now than ever. So that's partially why I'm kind of stressed. There's an increase in work when I'm at my I'm beyond the limit of what I can physically do, Neil. So it's now a case of, where do I find... Do I just forego the 3 hours sleep I'm getting and do it then? What I mean, I'll figure it out, Neil. I've figured it out in the past. I'll figure it out now. But that's unfortunate. But that is a bit of a slight concern. I don't have enough hours in the day.
Well, like I said, I know how you're going to feel like you can't trust anybody anymore. But there are people that do have your back and will help you out. Just reach out to a few of them. I don't know, maybe Paula, Bible U, she'll help.
She's already offered it.
So let you know.
Yes, she has already offered it. So yeah, there are people who've already come out of the woodwork to say they'll help, and everybody that's contacted me said they've got my back. They're very disappointed. Blah blah blah. So everybody's been very, very heartwarmingly kind to me. Now, am I deserving of that? I don't know. I mean, I'm a bit of a pervert, so maybe not.
Make sure to ask the waiter to try your main meal first. So if it's poisoned, then he won't eat it.
Who to eat it?
The waiter at the curry house.
No, the curry house like us.
Well, some things happen in life and you just got to go roll with the punches, baby.
Yeah, Len summarised it the other day when he was like, "Oh, well, do you think you'll stay friends?" And I'm like, "Well, what would you do?" He's like, "No, I wouldn't." I'm like, "Well, there you go. You've answered your own question, haven't you?" And he echoed my sentiment. Once you get to a certain age, depending on what you're doing, you do get screwed over enough times to, number one, protect yourself against that happening again, which in this instance I had done more than I had expected I'd done. So I thought I'd done less than I actually had, without being too detailed. But you go, well, okay, so I've covered myself. Why? Well, because I've been screwed over plenty of times previously. And my dad, when he was alive, would describe it as a sting from a bee. If you're a beekeeper, the first sting you definitely remember. But once you're a beekeeper for a few years, you get a sting and it's almost inconsequential. The sting lessens every single time. Now, is the sting the same? Yeah. Yeah, it's still a sting. But how much you react to it lessens every single time.
Okay, when you're stung by a bee, I get the analogy. I totally get it. You become immune to it. Basically, we don't even feel it anymore.
You do.
But,
you're never immune to it. That's why my dad's analogy was excellent, because you're never immune to the pain of a sting, are you?
No, you just get used to it. You know what it is.
You just get used to it.
But here's the thing. Now, a bee is one thing, right? But if something else comes, like a wasp, and stings you, then it's a different sort of pain. Like when a stranger stings you, fine. But when someone close to you stings you, come on, that's a different type of pain.
Well, for me, it's always been someone close to me. Whenever I've been stung, it's always been that scenario, actually, Neil. So it's always been the person closest. Weird, eh? Maybe that's not the way for everyone, but no. I mean, maybe the people around us, because we've got opponents, think that they're stinging me. They're not stings. They might think they are. No, they're not. They would hope. Like Rhetoric, he thinks he's having a little pop. That he thinks that's a sting. You delusional idiot.
There's no way you could tell me that a German sting is the same as this thing that you're facing now. And to answer that question to whoever it was that asked you, can you remain friends? I don't know about you, but once you cross me, I have no use for you because I cannot trust you. How can I remain friends with someone? I'll keep you close, because you're supposed to keep your enemies closest so you know everything they're doing, but you are no longer my friend. You crossed me. Friends don't do that to friends, so I don't even understand the question.
People want things to be as they were, that's all, Neil. You were the same initially, weren't you? You couldn't believe it. You want things to remain. You said you wanted to wake up and it all not be true.
Yeah, I was hoping it wasn't. I was hoping it was some sort of ploy that, to sell books or something. I don't know, because it was so shocking to me. But then when people, bunkered down and try to declare they're righteous, how can I even trust someone like that? I can't. Just get out of my life. Don't want nothing to do with you. End the story.
Yeah, well, you say, well, Jaren
There
was
you
no
go.
different. How is Jaren any different? Jaren and I were reasonably close. I mean, don't get me wrong. He's across the pond in the same way as other people across the pond that I've become friendly with. But we're in an age where the communication is so good that you can get quite close to people without necessarily meeting them. Same with Patricia Steer. I mean, I did actually meet both of them in person, but that's not my point. It's not a great example because I did actually meet both Jaren and Patricia. Dave Weiss, there you go. I've never actually pressed the flesh with Dave Weiss, but I spent hours and hours and hours and hours with him talking about this subject on Skype or whatever it was. Good.
He wasn't your mentor, though.
No, but by the same token, it's, a relationship that you build up with somebody that you trust. So how is it any different?
They weren't on the panel every day.
Yeah, they were.
Was
I was always on their shows, my shows. They were all, we were the potato crew. You weren't around, Neil. You weren't there to remember us in that way.
How long did that go on for?
Years.
Okay. All right. So then, okay.
People probably can't picture this. Like, what, you, Dave Weiss, Patricia Steer, Jaren, all peas in a pod. Yeah. Before Bob came on the scene. Yeah. Isn't that amazing? Yeah. Now, there were certain people that never made their way into the group. Now, these were the original OG Flat Earthers, but did Eric DeBay ever join in with that group? No. Did Math Powerland ever join in on that group? No. There were certain people that remained on the outside that were part of like the OG crew of Flat Earthers. And there were certain people that were involved with Jaren, like Smokescreen Design or Matrix Reload, who again faded into obscurity in this subject. But they were all in a group originally with Jaren. Well, where are they now? People come and go. People get forgotten about. And that's really what this current situation is about, isn't it? Not being
Hello.
forgotten. Say again?
No, I said hello.
Hello. How's it going, Eli?
It's going well. Sorry I wasn't able to grab you, Neil, when I had the pitch data conversation.
How did it go?
But admittedly, it was first in our mod chat, and everyone was there, and everyone likes it. Now I will say, you're not getting no credit, Ryan. Somebody literally said, I like it, as long as Brian didn't say it. And I was like, come on, now you being super petty. I said, yo, everything I just said literally came from Brian's mouth. Come on, right?
There you go.
The bottom line is, it's all good.
Were they all
Things
American?
being-
Just as we were talking about being racist towards Americans, were they all Americans?
No.
Not all Americans.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
You don't even have to tell me who's the one that said that.
There's no need to name and shame.
He could have been joking anyways. But regardless, his whole thing is so also like what 24/7 was doing yesterday with the list that we also went over. They were critiquing which arguments were strong and which arguments weren't based on how flat earthers have argued it. Right? So they kind of did the same thing we did.
So they went over how statements of fact were argued, did they?
Well, give me something on the list, and we'll see if it's a statement of fact or not. Okay.
Elevation profiles.
Hold on, Eli round up. Go ahead, Eli.
I'll give you an example. what was one of them that was super terrible that I can remember?
Elevation profiles.
No, as you go higher, the air pressure gets less. That was on the list.
Oh, you must have had a different list.
No, well, I'm talking about the same list they was talking about, and they was like, well, what was the problem with us scrutinizing it? I was like, I don't know. That's what we were doing.
That's an excellent flat Earth proof, though. So as you get higher, what perpendicular to a plane of reference measured in altitude, the air pressure gets less as it dissipates away from the ground in an upward vector. There's at least two flat Earth prerequisites in those statements, isn't there?
There is. See, and that's why you're necessary. Because I don't think that's something that's cognitively easy to accept because it's so simple. Like I was sitting here, matter of fact, I'm going on too many tangents. Bottom line is they like it. Now, secondary point, I also talked to them about you and the conversation we had. And I even gave your example of Godfrey to let them know that you understood.
Terms of service.
Everyone else's. Yeah. And you're welcome back. Actually, you, like I told you weeks ago, you were never permanently banned. There was a time frame on that ban.
Ah, fair enough.
So is there like you could have came back, but regardless, they do want to see some changes. Like, for example, if you're going to come into 24/7, it's going to be just you. And I find that reasonable because remember, one time you literally had to leave because you couldn't mute somebody in here. So everybody needs to just, if they're going to be a part of it, you still record, do what you do or whatever, but you're a regular like everyone else has to be. There's no
what you're saying is
status.
I have to send the panel to the Discord server so that they're all in there under the moderation of that Discord server, rather than me having my panel come through my line so that everyone in the Discord server is going, why have you got 3 different voices?
Yeah, you can go yourself. I ain't going there with that.
Yeah.
But there was
Neil,
let me just fill the audience in a second, Eli.
We need more of.
I just want to fill the audience in on the conversation we had yesterday. So there was a perception from me that I'd been banned for being, quote, racist because I'd used the N-word. Now, we'll use that terminology because it's been discussed heavily off air. It might have been on the recording for the pre-show, the after show, I can't remember. Regardless, there's a general understanding that, I don't know if it's left-wing or right-wing that would use this in this way, but there's certain people that will say, simply by using the N-word, soft A or hard R, hope I've got the terminology right, regardless, there's a group of individuals that will say, simply by using that word, you can be labelled a racist. No amount of contextualisation on my part to say, no, it's been played in from a clip, somebody's playing a soundbite from a soundboard, and to diffuse the use of the word, in diffusion of the word, I've used the word. And it's a bit like when in Life of Brian, you've got somebody who's getting stoned, that is, stones thrown at them to kill them. And the reason they're being stoned is because, and this is in the words of the character, all I did was say to my wife, that piece of halibut was good enough for Jehovah. And then when he says it, the person who's running the stoning says, he said it again! And then they all start stoning him. But he hasn't blown the whistle to start the stoning, so he stops them. No, nobody's to stone anybody. And I want to make this absolutely clear, even if they do say Jehovah, and then they all stone the person that's contextualising the rules around the stoning and the legitimacy of saying the word Jehovah, which is banned. Now, in this case, it's just the case that unless you are black, you cannot say the N-word. That's the social agreement, not me. I am not scared of words, and I want as many as possible, and I want to use them, all of them. But that socially, and I have to accept this as much as it annoys me greatly, isn't tolerable. You aren't allowed to use that. Only that group can use that word. Well, doesn't that segregate them into a group? Isn't that kind of racist? Yes, it is. But that's the irony of it. Same goes with using the F word. F-A, I won't do the rest. If you're a homosexual, you can use that word, but if you're not, you can't. Well, isn't that separating them into a group and giving them specific words that only they can use? That's segregation in a term using language. To me, that's so much more egregious. But there we go. That's the society we live in. And if I'm in someone else's rules that applies the general social construct rules of language to a group, I have to abide by them. And if I'm in that group, I will abide by them. Here, I will say nigger and nigga, however you're supposed to say it, contextually when it's appropriate to use that word. It doesn't scare me. What does scare me is people who say that word because they are racist. That is to say, they dislike black people and use that word in a derogatory way. Now, me, I am not in any way racist. All I want to talk about is how Earth is flat. That's my only motivation. The groups that are deemed groups, in this case black people, that in itself, to me, seems incredibly racist. But there we go. That's just my view on the matter, and it will never come up again in the politics server if we do go back.
Yeah. But the more times you do give examples of the exact word are the more bullets that nefarious globers can cast a bad light on, for example, your book. I would suggest, as much as you like freedom of speech, if you want to be a businessman, freedom of speech can't matter more than that. Sorry.
Yeah, I get that. Sometimes you have to sacrifice your own, I don't think morals are the right word, just linguistic use. I don't know how to term this. Freedom of language is probably the words that you should use, but it's like, I don't know. Societally, like you say, if I want to be a businessman, you've got to understand that the society that I'm appealing to, they have had rules set for them, and I think the rules are stupid, but that doesn't change the rules that society want to abide by. Now, for me, even though I see the rules as even more racist, that doesn't matter either. Those are the rules that people have agreed upon. Or not agreed upon, had foisted upon them and accepted.
Yeah, it's frustrating for sure. Very frustrating.
Just the way it is. You got to sacrifice your own standards just to appease other people. Great.
So, you know, that being the case, everyone, like I will say this. Everyone is excited about you. Because they're like, oh, Nathan actually is reasonable. We actually can talk to him and, you know, whatever. And the arguments he has, it's not like, you know, they aren't good. Then the second question comes is, well, is the other guy still allowed? They don't feel the same way about that guy. So this is
because he's a thieving, rotten bastard now. His fruits show what he is. He's a thieving scumbag in plain English.
Right, let's not speak ill of other people who've offered plenty to this subject arena, okay? I stopped people doing it for Dave Weiss. Only I can do that.
I don't care.
Right for me to
I'll stop doing it, but that doesn't change the way how I feel. I'll stop saying it, but I ain't gonna change how I feel.
You should be rowing, Neil.
You should be what?
Rowing the boat.
Oh, on my way to Missouri. Yeah, I should be rowing. Yeah. Well, I live in Alabama. It's very easy to get to.
Yeah. So, yeah. We have a long road to reaching out to new people, getting into new people's faces, and them getting familiar with our faces and stuff like that. I'm excited.
One thing that's just one second, Neil. I just want to focus on one thing that Eli just said a second ago, which was intriguing to me, and it reminded me of something Anthony Riley said many years ago about his introduction to the curve calculator. So you said that sometimes the arguments that we put across are just too simple to be true, as in that's how the perception is. Well, how can that be the case? You're just saying that the distance is flat and linear and straight and horizontal. Yeah, it is, yeah. Like I've shown with Rhetoric, applying it in a straight, linear, horizontal fashion to a triangle. Yeah, it is just that simple. But they're using it and not mentioning it. But if you don't know that, you don't know that. It seems too simple to be an argument, doesn't it, Eli? That's what Brian was annoyed at yesterday. He's like, don't come to me and tell me that pitch data is a frickin' argument. It isn't. It's just measurements of Earth as a flat plane. There's no ifs,
But
buts,
then-
or ambiguity when you look at measurements. To turn them into an argument is part of the game.
However, he did qualify that while explaining that. And that qualification was what I led with, that everyone accepted. So he couldn't not do that and be justified. He did it himself.
Yeah, I get annoyed with it, and he cuts us off when he's doing that, because we'll just say, well, Earth's just flat in this particular part of your example. It's like, yeah, but you can present that, and because it's so simple, people will go, yeah, but flat's not flat then. And you've got to take them through how no, flat is flat, or it wouldn't do what you've got to see in the measurements anyway. Now, that's the bit that frustrates me, because I'm like, it's just measurements. Take them or leave them. That's my current attitude.
Yeah, that's my stand on it too. You could do all you want, get into all of that stuff. Once I see it's flat and it's measured that way, I'm done. I'm good. Game over.
I didn't get to the end of my example. So Anthony Riley came to me before I'd ever seen Earth curve calculations and went, we're supposed to be arguing about how Earth isn't or is a ball by way of use of this calculator. I'm like, what calculator? He's like, the Earth curve calculator. I'm like, what's that? And he showed it me. I'm like, where have you got this from? He went, well, a baller showed it me and told me that that's how I'm supposed to be arguing. I'm like, really? He went, yeah, that's how this debate's supposed to go. We're supposed to argue within the context of this calculation, and that's how we argue for Earth being flat, by showing that there's too much or too little Earth curve in the way of whatever thing we're looking at in the distance. And that's how we calculate how much we should or shouldn't see of this item in the distance. We put it through this calculator. That's how we argue. Now go back and look at the Isle of Man debates. That's exactly how we argued, because we were stupid and were told that that's how we should argue. Now, if somebody had come along instead of the person that approached Anthony, I don't know who it was, and said, seeing this Earth curve calculator, let's have a little look at the values we punch into it. Distance, it's flat and horizontal, so Earth's going to be measured flat when we start asserting that there's a distance to a geometric horizon. The distance itself is measured flat. But if you can just ignore that, we can have an argument about how much or little Earth curve gets in the way after measuring Earth flat. Now, if that had been the case 10 years ago, we wouldn't be sat here, would we? The whole world would know Earth's flat, because that's how it's measured, like on screen in all these diagrams that don't reach anybody. There's only 71 people watching. Back when we were arguing about the Isle of Man for endless hours, with Rumpus talking over everybody and it completely inaudible, what's on screen? Curve calculator, with its straight horizontal distance measurements and altitude off sea level, that's used for 2 points that are both corresponding to the same plane of reference. Earth was flat the whole time and we just never noticed, because we were told, don't look at this hand, look at this hand. Don't look at the hand that holds the flat Earth measurements in it and has to go into the calculator. Focus on the distance to the geometric horizon at 1.22 times the square root of the observer's height off a flat Earth. Just don't mention that it's a height off a flat Earth. Don't mention it's a horizontal distance. Don't mention that you can't bend the surface level because it has to be parallel with eye level for the dip angle. Don't mention any of that flat Earth prerequisite that we'll need to suggest we're on a ball. Argue about how far we should see. People think it's more complicated than it is. They're given a maths to make it seem more complicated. Then it's cognitively expensive. So do you remember when we covered that Irish girl and she's explaining about how if something's given to you repeatedly, it seems like that's the thing that you should focus on because you've already had it figured out for you. But if you've never had it given to you and you're presented with something that seems on the surface quite complicated, that's Earth curve mathematics, you go, this seems complicated. I don't want to dedicate that much mental effort and energy to this. So what's the conclusion? Well, the conclusion is we're supposed to have a geometric physical sphere edge for a horizon at 1.22 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. Now, if I say it that way, I don't include that the distance is a flat Earth measurement and the height's a flat Earth measurement and surface level's parallel with eye level, flat Earth prerequisites, all three of them. Now, if I don't mention any of that, you just hear the conclusion. We've looked at Earth, we've measured Earth, we put it through this calculator and we can tell you where Earth curve resides. So you just hear the last bit, where Earth curve resides. At the end of a flat plane that you measured flat with the distance and your height above it, and sea level and surface level and eye level. You don't hear the eye level bit, you don't hear the surface level bit, you don't hear the sea level bit, you don't see the horizontal distance measurement. Even when you drag out a line on Google Earth, you don't pay attention to any of it. You just know that the title says Earth curve maths. Cognitively cheap to process, so that's what people do. It's complicated. What's the conclusion? And once you're into the complex nature of it, you are dedicating your mental capacity to figuring out how the functionality of Earth curve maths works. You're already begging the question that there's an Earth curve. They've already won. So make it complicated, make it cognitively expensive to deal with. That's the game. Then you ignore all the flat Earth measurements.
Yeah, that's called a great trick. Great tricks are never seen.
Yeah, but they're always really simple when someone shows you how the trick works. Now, I used to work when I was young and I'd just left home on a magic stand with a guy called Ray in Stratford-upon-Avon, where there's plenty of people out there looking for theatrical things to do. And we'd be juggling fire with each other and doing play fights, slapstick, all that sort of stuff to try and generate a crowd to sell our magic tricks to them. But there'd always be the audience who were buying the tricks really amazed, and you couldn't tell them how the trick worked until they paid you. Because if you did, they wouldn't buy it off you. As soon as you see the trick and how it works, suddenly it's not worth the £5 anymore. But if you've paid the £5 and then you show them how the card trick works, they've already paid. No refunds. But the trick's never as good when you know how it works. Now you, my audience, know. That's why I've got to be censored. The trick's really simple. Measure a flat Earth and say it's a ball. That's it. That's the trick. It was really simple all along.
That's a good point. Once you know the trick, it's like, what? That was it?
Yeah.
But it looks so grand.
Yeah, like with the fighting. Me and Ray would look like we were beating the living daylights out of each other, like we were in a full-blown fight where people called the police. Because we were good at it. That's to say we rehearsed and figured out all the sight lines where we would do this, right, on the Bancroft in Stratford. So you'd know where people could see where I was punching him. And from this angle, you can see I've missed his face by a mile. But from that angle, it looks like I've just knocked him out. So once you know the trick and you go, well, this is how it's done. And they go, well, show me. Ray, stand 90 degrees to how we would normally. There you go. That's how it's done. Well, you're not even touching him. No, that's the whole point. It's called slapstick. When he does that, he slaps his thigh and you hear and it sounds like he's been hit in the face. Well, he hasn't. It's slapstick. People don't realise that that's how most fights are done when they see it on the movies and they see the behind the scenes. Like, I knew that all along. No, you didn't. You suspended disbelief when you watched the movie. And that's all people are doing, suspending disbelief for the Glurf religion. That's all you're doing. You're suspending disbelief.
Wow, when you put it that way, it makes it so obvious, like how we whistled right past it. When you said even you're drawing out the straight line on the diagram, you're not picking it up. Holy shoot, they had us tricked.
Yeah, you have to hide the sight lines, mask them with other things. You know, baffle you with bullshit, give you too much information, make it... It's more an information overload rather than my analogy to hiding sight lines. So when you're describing slapstick, all I'm describing is one guy stands here, one guy stands here, and from your perspective, the fist is actually hitting the person. It isn't. It's going past the person, but you can't see it from this line. It looks like you're hitting them. Well, that's it. It's really simple to hide a sight line. Well, in terms of Earth curve mathematics, you're not hiding sight lines. You're just overloading people with information, making it cognitively expensive to process. Then you don't see the trick. That's it.
Oh, I see. You're looking everywhere else but where you're supposed to be looking.
Yeah.
Information overload.
Exactly. With that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible. But if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering Streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching live, this is where we bid you farewell. So another massive thank you to all of you who liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member. Please let Rhetoric know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me to tell you You measured Earth flat, Reds. Thanks for trying to shame me for my sex life. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.